friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you doing today? How's things in your world? I hope everything is well. As promised, we're going to cover some board game content today. Fresh off of Gen Con, I picked up Patchwork Express and played it, I believe, 5 times since Gen Con. And I have some thoughts about it. So here we go. Patchwork Express is essentially a miniature version of Patchwork. I really don't know how else you could describe it. It is Patchwork on a slightly smaller board, I think. I honestly don't have Patchwork here to determine that, but these boards are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 7 by 7, and I think the regular Patchwork board is 8 by 8, if I remember correctly. Maybe it's even bigger than that. This is 7 by 7, and the tiles in here are much more like normal. There's not a whole lot of funky ones. There's maybe 1 or 2 that are like, you know, the odd shape, like this guy, or this funky one here. But for the most part, they're very basic shapes. There's still leather, there's still buttons, there's still time markers. Essentially, the game plays identically to Patchwork, except that there are a whole bunch of these blue patches, and these are all like the 2s, all the like basic shapes. They stay in the box, and you play with these funky shapes first, and then once you get down to only 5 of these remaining, then you put out the blue ones, and you continue playing. And that changes things up a bit. For one, there's not as much. You don't need to try to think ahead as much, because you can't. Like, you're limited by the information available to you, which maybe helps. I know some people, if you're playing this game just as a casual enjoyment type of game, if somebody is gaming it and like trying to think 4 turns ahead and line up their moves, it could kind of ruin it. So this makes it a little bit more casual friendly, but only for people who would try to play this like at a tournament level anyway. So I think that casual person's not going to notice that difference. But it does make a few interesting decisions, because a lot of these later game tiles are like 0 cost tiles. So when you're trying to save up those buttons for that final push, it helps. The only other major difference is that there is no bonus for completing a 7 by 7. This is it. You play on the board, count your buttons minus 2 points for each hole, which I think in the main game it's 1 point for each hole. So I think it's 2 here, which means that like last night we had a lot of games where we were both in the negatives. Which I don't think is a problem, but I don't know. Really, it's Patchwork condensed. And if you're looking for that sort of thing, I think it's good. I think the thing that makes this, I don't want to say better, the thing that makes this different is that we played 5 games in the time it would take to probably play 2 games of Patchwork. So it's a very quick kind of just sit down and play. And it was immediately like, let's play again, let's play again, let's play again. And it was fun. And we enjoyed that. I don't really know what else I could say about it. The components are fine and all that crap. Doesn't come with enough baggies, as usual. It's German. What do you expect? Artwork is fine. I think it's a little different than the main game artwork. The time track is shorter, obviously. I think that makes sense. But it works the exact same way. When you pass over somebody, you get buttons. When you pass over the buttons, you count your buttons, get buttons. If you land on the leather, you take the leather. Same game, just quicker. And that's not a bad thing. I do enjoy playing Patchwork, but I also really enjoyed playing this as kind of just like a quick pick-up-and-play game instead of kind of committing to a full game of Patchwork. I know that sounds kind of silly because the box here says... It doesn't. I think I read somewhere that it was 15 minutes. It says around 10 minutes. And I would say that regular Patchwork is around a half an hour. So if half an hour is overwhelming to you and you're looking for a 10-minute game, this is a good pickup. I'm not disappointed that I got it. Let's put it that way. Especially since I don't have Patchwork here. But that's it. That's Patchwork Express from Lookout Games. And if you have any more questions about it, or you want to see some different pictures than what I've posted, comments down below. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being my bestest friends. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Today's random fact comes from IMDb. What time period does Indiana Jones take place in? Steven Spielberg's first sequel, though technically a prequel, as Temple of Doom takes place in 1935. The Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981, taking place in 1936. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in 1938. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is 1957.